A normal basic day where everything was going smoothly. Classes were going on and the students were giving their full concentration in their classes. On that day, students were given an assignment. They have to write a story about paranormal activities where it is a group assignment. Hearing that, Sophia got really excited because she loved reading and watching horror stories. It very much fascinates her about this stuff. She looked at Urban's face with a big smile which gleamed her face. She immediately understood what was going in her mind when he saw her smiling like that. He shook his head like side to side, showing that she was insane. After the class ended, all four of them, Sophia, Urban, James, and Hudson, gathered in their usual spot to eat lunch and chit-chat together. The very next minute they sat there, Sophia started to talk about their assignment, which was very excited about. She started talking about all the stories that they used for their project. Hearing all that, all three of the boys got interested as well. They planned to meet up at the local library around evening to discuss about it again. It was evening and the boys were waiting for Sophia after they finished their tuition outside the library. She was there within minutes. They chose the library because they think that there might be a lot of information about paranormal things there. Once they got inside, they took a corner table to get some privacy. Each went to a bookshelf to search for books and stories based on paranormal activities. The boys took books that they find relevant and interesting while Sophia was still searching for something. A few moments later, her huge thing dropped on top of the table. All the three of boys' hearts skipped a beat. They turned their head to find out who made that loud sound. It was Sophia, smiling at them while those three were really mad at her. Everyone at the library was shushing at her. Question marks were left on their faces when they saw a huge bundle. Sophia explained that all those newspapers had stories of paranormal activities which are proven to be real. So, the boys stopped reading the books and gave their full concentration on Sophia. Her plan was to go through all the newspapers she got and find out which place has more paranormal activities going on there. Listening to that, they got excited by the idea and started going through all the newspapers and gathered information. And when they summed it all up, the only place that they found was very much haunted was a highway. So they decided to go there on the weekend to check it out.
It's Saturday and they are halfway through the journey and were enjoying themselves very much. But they were having so much fun that they didn't realize that they have reached their destination. The sun has already set and the road was empty. Without their knowing, there was a yellow Volkswagen behind them, approaching very fast. When Albert saw that, he gave some space for the Volkswagen to overtake them. As he does that, the yellow Volkswagen went ahead of them. As though nothing happened, they were just having fun. Suddenly, without having any sign, the car broke down. In the middle of an empty highway, no vehicle on the street, and they were wondering what happened. James said that he sent the car to the workshop 2 days back. They were all clueless. When they checked where they are, they realized that they already reached the highway they were supposed to investigate. It was very dark all around. They wanted to check the hood but was too afraid to do so. Everyone suggested Hudson to do because he is very skilled with this stuff. But he was too afraid to go out by himself. So he said no. Everyone else said no too. So to figure out who has to go and see what happened, they played a small game. The person who loses has to check what went wrong. Finally, Hudson lost, so he has to go out to have a look. The next second he stepped out of the car, something came and hit him very fast out of nowhere. Seeing that, Sophia screamed on top of her lungs. Albert and James ran towards Hudson to see if he was alright or not. But sad news, when they checked his pulse, he was no longer alive. All three of them were weeping in tears. They can't bear the pain of losing their friend. Albert and James were shaking and slapping Hudson's face to make him wake up. They were trying to remember what car hit him. Then Sophia remembered that it was a yellow Volkswagen. When she said that, Albert recognized that the car they allowed to overtake them that hit Hudson. They were thinking, how was it even possible for that car to be behind them again? They were all having mixed feelings. They suddenly heard a car approaching from the same direction they were coming from. They thought of to stop that car and ask some help. When the car got closer, they noticed that it was the yellow Volkswagen again, and noticed that there was no driver in the driver's seat. They were extremely shocked by seeing it. The car was approaching them in a very high speed. Seeing that, all three of them ran into the jungle to protect themselves. They instantly knew that it was a spirit that was chasing them. Those three were sprinting without knowing where they were actually heading to. Since they were very anxious about what was going on, none of them had the guts to turn around and see if anything was behind them. From out of nowhere, there was a beam of light in the woods. There was a house made from wood in the middle of the jungle, and there was an old man singing and was staring at the dark night. Seeing them running, the old man stopped them and started asking questions. The first question he asked was, why were they running in the jungle at this time? They were catching breath but eventually answered him. They told him about the incident that happened at the highway. When he heard the whole story, he brought them into his house to take a quick rest. The old man introduced himself to the three of them. While they were resting, the old man offered himself to go bring water for them. When he was in the kitchen bringing them water, Sophia saw a diary on the table beside her. The book looked very old, and the cover page of it says 12 a.m. highway. She was very curious, so she started to read that diary out loud, but not too loud so that the old man would not listen.
Basically, the diary is written about a yellow Volkswagen Beetle car. The story is about a husband and his wife, and the wife was pregnant. One day they were traveling and they were supposed to pass by that highway. On that night, there were no cars on the road. Out of nowhere, the car suddenly stopped at the side of the road. Her husband told the wife that he was going to grab a bottle of water at the car trunk, but little did she know, it was not the bottle that he wanted to take, it was a knife. He wanted to kill his pregnant wife. During that time, the wife passed away. It was 12 in the midnight, and she was suffering in pain, and she was very angry at her husband and was not satisfied at all. Later on, her husband parked the car inside a jungle and lit it up on fire. The car burned together with his wife that he murdered. This was the main cause of all the other incidents that happened during all these years. After that incident happened there were many other mysteries that happened during the exact same time, 12 a.m. in the midnight. After Sophia read finished the diary, all three of them realized that they had did a big mistake by traveling in the highway at that particular time. They heard a sound coming from somewhere. It was a woman's voice, a crying sound. They started to look around the house to find out where was the sound coming from. When they were looking through the house, they found the old man's picture on the wall of his house. Seeing that, they really got shocked and got more frightened. Eventually, they started to run out of the house because they were inside a house of a ghost. After a few meters running away, they still could hear the sound of a crying woman.
As they were walking, James felt someone holding his shoulder, and when he turned around, he screamed very loudly. Hearing that, Albert and Sophia turned around to see what happened to him, but he was no more there. The last word they heard him say out of nowhere was, "Do not come after me." Now they were really anxious. They didn't know what to do, so they started running ahead to save their life. While running, once again they heard a crying of a woman. They looked all around but couldn't find anyone there. The sound was getting closer. Out of nowhere, Albert felt that there is a white shadow following them from their back. Albert senses that whatever is behind them has the intention to capture his girlfriend Sophia. To save Sophia, Albert pushed her as far as he could to the front. At the same time, he got caught by the spirit that was following them. By the push, Sophia fell down. She tried to stand up and tried to help Albert, but he told her to run away no matter what happens to save her life. Hearing that, she didn't want him to disobey his words, so she ran away as fast as she can. From far, she could actually hear Albert screaming in pain and went in a sudden silence.
Tears were pouring from her eyes. She was weak. Nevertheless, she still continued running. From a very close distance, she could see the highway. If she reached the highway, she could eventually ask for help from any of the cars passing by. But Sophia could see that the spirit was chasing her non-stop. She didn't know what to do, so she stood still there on the middle of the highway. Her heartbeat was racing, and she gave up on her life. Sophia felt something shining on her face suddenly out of nowhere. So when she opened her eyes, she saw the sun rising. It was very bright. When she turned around, she saw the spirit vanishing in thin air, and that was when she felt a big relief.